Hi everyone, welcome back to the Atheist Viewpoint. I'm Ellen Johnson, the president of American Atheists, and you know my co-host Dennis Horowitz. Today we're going to mix it up. Right, Dennis, we're going to give you a little news, some profiles, some reports on what atheists are doing. And the first thing I want to tell you all is where our convention is going to be next year. It's going to be in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I just came back, checked out 9 hotels. They're all spectacular. I'll let you know when I choose the hotel. I haven't gotten to that yet. Minneapolis was beautiful. Downtown Minneapolis, one of the hotels was in St. Paul. The rest I looked at were in downtown Minneapolis. It's clean, it's quiet, it's not crowded, it's inexpensive, lovely area. Yeah, I checked out the Mall of America, of course. They've got like an amusement area, and they've got everything in there. It was wonderful.
Well, that's good because, you know, when the going gets tough, the tough go shopping. That's the general one.
You will do shopping. You will go to the Mall of America. It's wonderful. So we'll keep you informed as to what hotel, but our conventions are always on Easter weekend. And next year, Easter weekend is March the 23rd, so the convention will be March 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Now, one of the things that American Atheist does to work for you and to help atheists is we file lawsuits to keep the separation of state and church and to keep the government from funneling tax dollars into religious organizations. Well, in April of 2006, American Atheists filed suit in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Michigan, Southern Division, against the City of Detroit, the City of Detroit Downtown Development Authority, and the Downtown Economic Growth Corporation to have declared unconstitutional under the Establishment Clause and similar provisions of the Michigan State Constitution the defendants' payment of funds directly to 2 Detroit churches for repairs or improvements to the exteriors of several of their structures and parking lots as part of the Lower Woodward Facade Improvement Plan. The defendants paid approximately $690,000 to the 2 churches to improve their real estate from funds derived from taxes imposed on the plaintiffs. Such direct subsidies of religious organizations from taxpayer-derived funds violates the plaintiffs' rights to be free of taxation for the support of religious organizations. Under a program named the Lower Woodward Redevelopment Initiative, the DDA, Downtown Detroit Development Authority, allocated the sum of $11.18 million in fiscal year 2004-2005 for grants to property owners for improvements to their property called the Facade Improvement Program. And this was in anticipation or to make everything get spruced up for the Super Bowl, that year's Super Bowl. And under the Facade Improvement Program, property owners who made exterior building improvements were eligible to receive up to $150,000 in matching funds from the DDA. In addition, under the Facade Improvement Program, property owners who made parking lot edge improvements were eligible to receive up to $30,000 in matching funds from the DDA. The DDA has paid or approved 7 grant applications to pay approximately $690,000 of tax money to the Central United Methodist Church and the Second Baptist Church.
Is that the Super Bowl where Janet Jackson flashed?
I don't know.
Because in that case, I'd be all in favor of it.
We want the place to look good for Janet Jackson.
Yeah,
That's completely secular
right,
motivation.
Right.
I'm all for that.
Janet Jackson's breasts are secular, ladies and gentlemen, so just be on the record saying.
The DDA has paid or approved, on August 8th of 2007, Judge Avern Cohn ruled that payments made to the churches to repair lights, masonry, brickwork, outdoor planters, removal of a canopy or replacement of fabric awning, installation of a concrete ramp, expansion of an entranceway, replacement of an overhang, repair or replacement of metal coping, painting of exterior doors, building trim and gutters, repairs and improvements to parking lots, replacement of windows, and removal of caulking on glass was okay. He said that's constitutional because all of those things lack religious content.
Dealing with the structure of the building.
Right. So the taxpayers can pay for that. However, he said that tax money spent on church signs and stained glass windows are unconstitutional because they convey a religious message. Well, basically if that decision is allowed to stand, that means that the government can now use tax dollars to build churches.
Yes, that's right.
Just keep the stained glass out of it and keep the signage out, and you've got a church. Let the churches pay for the signs and the stained glass windows, and the government will then be building churches. Well, because the decision contained many errors of law, our attorney, Robert J. Bruno, filed a motion for an amended judgment. This motion basically asks the judge to correct his ruling and spells out all the reasons why the judge's decision was wrong. The judge granted the motion and gave the defendants 20 days to respond to Mr. Bruno's motion, and then Mr. Bruno can then respond to the defendants. The decision and motion for an amended judgment can be read at our website. Go to www.atheists.org, click on the lawsuits section on the home page, and we'll keep you informed.
I just have a question here, and I don't expect us to settle this now, but would you think that there would be a difference between the unconstitutionality of giving money so that a church can build it, so that people can build a church, between that and, say, maintaining an historical site such as the Old North Church in Boston? I think there's a difference.
Yeah, there is a difference.
Because according to the Lemon Test, and I don't know what all the 3 degrees of it are, but one of them is that there has to be a secular purpose.
Secular legislative purpose.
Right, and so the Old North Church was in fact had a role in the American Revolution. It's an historical site, and had there been any other site that they used, that would have been equally as historical. So it does the Old North Church, or I think there's a synagogue in Newport, Rhode Island, Truro Synagogue, that George Washington visited, etc. That would probably have secular, historical.
Well, actually, yeah, there are a lot of churches which don't want to be declared historical properties because then you cannot alter them in any way, right. And they don't like that. Right. But one of the defenses of the downtown of the city of Detroit and the DDA is that these are historical properties, but that wasn't the reason. It wasn't. They weren't right. Designated as such. That's just a flimsy argument. Right. But the 3 prongs that, in case you don't know what Dennis is talking about, is that there are 3 tests to determine whether or not something violates the Establishment Clause.
It's called the Lemon Test.
The Lemon Test, and there are 3 prongs. And if the question or the action violates any one, then it's declared unconstitutional. And this is so successful in finding things to be unconstitutional that a lot of the conservatives on the Supreme Court go around it. They want to ignore it because it works. Right. In fact, when they were deciding the 10 Commandments cases, the one that was in Austin, Texas, and the one that was in Kentucky, the Supreme Court said, we're going to apply the Lemon Test to the one in one case, and we're not going to apply it in the other. They came up with some flimsy excuse why they could not apply it to the other. Well,
that was just recently, wasn't it? Just
yeah.
In Kentucky.
Well, last year.
Yeah.
It was McCreary County case. Well, in the one case where they applied the Lemon Test, the 10 Commandments failed and were declared to be unconstitutional. In the one case where they did not apply it, the 10 Commandments were found to be constitutional. So that's what the 3 prongs are. There must be a secular legislative purpose to what's going on. Now, in almost every instance, you can find, they will say that there's a secular legislative purpose.
Well, and one of the things
one of
the things that they do to disguise the 10 Commandments or to mask the 10 Commandments as a secular purpose is that they'll come up with this origin of our laws, origin of our tradition kind of thing, and they'll throw together some kind of display that kind of gives like a kind of a faint nod to other religious traditions or to other, other events that happened in the past that may have had a religious character to them. But basically, it's just an excuse to get around the law, get around the Lemon Test.
Right.
And I think that's the Roy Moore situation. I think there was an attempt to do that too.